Hi everyone, and welcome to the Black Collective podcast. So, welcome everyone. My name is Reuben. I am an Associate Director in Public Affairs, and I'm also co-chair of the Reach Network. I am your host for today. You'll probably hear my voice quite a lot throughout the podcast series, and we're just going to talk a bit about what the Black Collective is, how it came about, and what's to come. So I'd like to introduce you to one of my co-hosts, my beautiful co-host, I should say.
Oh my gosh.
Wunmi,
What is your problem?
do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Wunmi. I am a project administrator in public affairs. And welcome to the Black Collective. So for everyone that doesn't know, a couple of months ago for British Black History Month, we put out a 4-part series podcast on Black Joy. And we weren't expecting it to be so amazing, to have such a wide reach as well, and people were asking us like, are we going to continue? And we just thought, you know what, yeah, we might as well ride the wave and just kind of see where it takes us, isn't it? So the Black Collective is exactly what it sounds like. It's a group of like-minded voices focusing on Black joy, voices and representation within Ipsos and the wider society. We're going to be covering a range of topics, which is actually quite exciting throughout the year. There we go.
I'd now like to introduce everyone to my other beautiful co-host, Deqa.
Hi everyone, my name is Deqa Jama. I'm a semiotics consultant in our Advisory UK practice, or side of the business. And just to add to what my great co-hosts have said, I met all of these lovely people this time in October, and it's been amazing getting to know them, but also having our voices heard and actually for people to want to hear more about the things that we discuss. And we have great conversations around Ipsos all the time, around identity, around culture, around how to just make everything that is already core to Ipsos a little bit better.
Has it only been 3 months since we've known each other?
It is. We're basically a little family now though.
We're so sister. You wanna?
So last but not least, I'd like to introduce James. Do you want to tell a bit about
I didn't get
yourself?
the beautiful introduction.
Oh, you know what? Yeah.
I'd like to introduce my beautiful colleague James, who's going to talk a bit about himself.
Thanks, Reuben. So yeah, my name is James Myers-Antier. I'm a senior research executive in the market strategy and understanding team. I've been at Ipsos for around 3 years, and I wasn't initially involved in the first series of podcasts back in October, but upon listening to them, it's a great listen. And as soon as the opportunity arose of being involved in any capacity, I grabbed it. So yeah, really looking forward to.
I'm sorry, does anybody remember us going to go pitch?
We pitched him.
We pitched him. What do you mean the opportunity arose?
The opportunity arose.
We pitched you.
That's an opportunity.
We did like a whole sales pitch for you.
No, but I had mentioned to Reuben just in informal chats that I'd be happy to get involved.
Why did I have to come and chase you down there and say?
You didn't have to. You did. You came to introduce.
I did mention it to you, and you were like, yeah. And then I explained a bit more about what it would entail, and then you were like, oh, it might be a bit too much for me actually. So then I was like, I'm going to set Wunmi on you. And then that's what happened.
And we spent 2 hours in the cafe.
I thought that was all organic.
But James, we're so happy to have you on our team, honestly. And we're really excited to hear about your point of view as well.
Thank you.
So I want to know how you actually ended up at Ipsos and what your journey's been like so far.
So personally, like I said, I've been here for 3 years. So I joined back in Jan 2020. So just prior to the pandemic. And basically was due to a career change. So I'd been working in accounting from maybe 2015 to 19. And prior to that, I studied economics.
You're a maths boy?
Yeah, quant leaning. But yeah, always
You're
been
a maths boy.
That sounds offensive to the true, the true maths men and women. But yeah, so I've always had an interest in numbers, always been quant focused. But yeah, grew tired of accounting, and after some, as cliche as it was, just thinking about, okay, what can I do now that I've left accounting? I stumbled across market research, and then thought it'd be a good mix of like psychology, consumer psychology, economic behavior, behavioral science, while still utilizing numbers. So then I set on a path to do various bits of market/social research. So more so social research. So I did some work with the National Centre for Social Research, Shelter. I volunteered in their research department. Another charity called IARS that are really involved with like youth engagement and civic engagement, but a lot of research-based roles in those kind of organizations. And then saw a grad opportunity at Ipsos and applied for it. And then here I am. But it's been everything I dreamed of.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah.
What about you, Reuben? Because you've actually been here the longest out of all of us. Am I right?
Yeah, I had 5 years last month.
Elder statesman.
He got a bottle of champagne for it, by the way.
I don't drink champagne as well, so.
Well, as of recently, or just flat out?
As of recently.
No, recently.
Yeah.
No, I mean recently. Don't drink champagne. Or
Yeah, recently.
Wait, what do you mean recently?
Recently, I
stopped
don't
drinking
drink champagne.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm trying not to drink, innit?
Oh, okay.
So you just don't drink at all?
Well,
Guys, people can drink without needing a reason.
But how did I start? So I worked at a competitor to Ipsos, and a colleague of mine had previously moved to Ipsos about 6 months before. And every time I spoke to her, she was like, come to Ipsos, come to Ipsos, come to Ipsos. So I was like, after a while, I was like, maybe I'll look at it. Anyway, they had positions in their health team, so I applied to move here. And
you've been here ever since.
Yeah, been here ever since. Yeah.
Oh. Moving on, Deqa, how did you end up in Ipsos?
So for me, I've been at Ipsos for 15 months, I think. Something like that.
We've been at Ipsos for roughly the same amount of time.
Yeah, I started not this past November, the November before.
I started in September.
So we'd love to see it. So before that, I was doing brand strategy. I was a freelancer from like 2019 till I joined Ipsos. And honestly, I got really tired of securing briefs. For me, it felt like coming to Ipsos, that kind of is above my pay grade. So I get to just figure out what we need to figure out, rather than worrying about what do I eat next month.
So you like the delivery side of things.
Yeah. And like, so I don't want to worry about do I have to make what I made this month stretch the next month or the month after.
It's that stability, isn't it?
Yeah. And you said you was a numbers guy. I'm not a numbers person. Could do words all day, culture, all of that stuff all day.
I like to think I'm a words guy as well, just like preferably numbers.
This is good. We've got a good balance.
Yeah, we do.
I can read data, but that's as far as it goes for me. But language, I could sit here and write you a four-page letter on a sentence and what it really means and where it comes from and why we think of it the way that we do. And so, yeah, I enjoy people, I enjoy minds, I enjoy culture. I love understanding how we as people, it's a bit like the chicken and the egg, right? What came first, how we think or how we're told to think? Like, that is like my jam in life. So yeah, I got to work for some pretty cool brands before coming to Ipsos. I worked on the Nike women's campaign for like 4-5 seasons, which was super fun.
Did you get to meet anyone?
I did. I met a few people.
You're not going to drop any names?
I thought about it.
In my head, I'm just thinking Serena Williams. Gotta be like...
Or Alison
Fun
Field.
story, I was about to meet Serena one time and then COVID happened.
It's convenient.
And then COVID happened, unfortunately. And they stopped flying us out to cool places.
So wait, you were getting flown out?
To like Portland.
When you say it like that.
To be fair,
You got to travel with work.
yeah.
Okay, but to be fair, we've actually started flying people out again recently.
So.
Like our lot just recently went to the Seychelles
Oh,
for
nice.
a citizen dialogue workshop, and then in September, I believe they're going to Colombia.
Wow.
So my team's going to Barcelona.
Yeah, so we started again. I don't know about y'all.
That's great. Well,
I mean-
how it ended for me is I've discovered that semiotics was a job that you could do rather than something that was like part of my degree way back when. And here I am, growing in the semio field.
Great. Should
Did
we now
Wunmi
focus on...
talk to us about her journey?
Oh yeah, that's true. Actually.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Introduction.
Oh, let's make it brief then.
So yeah, tell us a bit about you, Wunmi. How did you end up at
Wow,
Ipsos?
how did I end up here? Oh, nepotism. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It wasn't nepotism. It wasn't nepotism. I promise, guys. Before I was working at Ipsos, I was working in Parliament. So I worked in Parliament for 2.5 years throughout the pandemic.
Doing what?
So I worked in the broadcasting department as a broadcasting liaison and coordinator. So my job was to basically check that everything that was going out to news stations, to parliamentlive.tv, that it was correct. I worked with our cameramen and our microphone operators. They're just wonderful people. I loved working at Parliament. Purely because of the draw of saying to people, I work at Parliament. It was just cool. 2.5 years there. We worked throughout the entire pandemic, which was an eye-opener. But then I just kind of got to the point where I think they call this black girl bored syndrome. I kind of got to the point where I felt like there was...
What does that mean? Can you explain it for us?
Black girl bored syndrome is when you kind of feel like you've learned everything there is to learn in your current role, and then you start immediately trying to find something else to do to be productive. That's how I know certain people that have ended up with like 3 different master's degrees, and they're doing courses in tech, and they've gone back to school and they're learning to be estate agents. So what I'm like, yeah, black girl bored syndrome. So I said, you know what? I'm still young. I can hop
Side
careers.
question. Do you think that's because their development's not being poured into, so then they get bored and...
I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, it's just because I want to know everything. Like right now, I'm doing courses in coding and cybersecurity. Has nothing to do with my job, but it's fun. I've been at Ipsos now. Someone told me about the role, and I love research, to be honest. Like, research is one of those things where it never gets old. There's always new things wanting to be known. As humans, we're so curious, and we want to ask question upon question. Like, it's almost like we're constantly in that 7-year-old phase of why. So to do that on a bigger scale, it just kind of made sense. So moved here September 2021, and I haven't left. And now I'm basically... ringmaster of
I can remember when you first came.
Cluster.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Well, I was like the only one in the office.
Oh yeah, you were. It was an empty office, and they told me to come for no reason. I remember Danielle was gone for a week as well, so it wasn't like I was going to meet my line manager. But yeah, that's how I ended up at Ipsos. Long story short. Anyway.
Thank you.
Topics we're going to be diving into this year. We're going to be putting out 2 episodes per month, but each month is going to be a different theme.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done is that we've incessantly asked questions about what people want to know about, and we've asked our colleagues, and we've asked people outside of work, what do you want to hear? What do you want to know? What do you want to learn more about? And we're also trying to incorporate as much as what Reach is doing, as much of what Reach is doing within our podcast calendar for this year as well. So you might find us like sneakily throwing in a little Reach resource every now and then, here and there. And I should
say equally, we can plug, if you get it to us in advance enough, we can plug other things for other networks or
for
whoever.
For a price. I ain't doing it for free.
Of what might be coming up later on in the year. So we try and record earlier to allow us time to breathe and do other things.
Yes.
So we have a schedule, but there are still some gaps yet to be filled in the schedule.
Yeah.
And we partly want to use the experience and process of doing this to engage lots of different people within the company and outside it. So I can talk you through some of what we're going to be doing in the coming months.
Yeah, just to let you guys know that this is not just, we're not trying to make this just an Ipsos UK thing. We do want to reach as many people as possible. So a lot of the topics we talk about might be international. So if you do find that maybe we're wrong. We're going to try and be as correct as possible when it comes to our podcast about the research that we do into these topics as well. But if you do find that we're wrong and you need to correct us, then you can reach out to us and we will make sure that we correct ourselves in the next episode. But yeah, Reuben, go ahead.
Okay. So, being it February, we thought that we would start the podcast by celebrating the US Black History Month. So our next episode will touch on that quite a bit. In March, Deqa will be talking everything representation.
Blackness and politics and dimensionality and blackness. And what is the difference between being politically black and just being black?
I'm actually quite excited for that one because we may or may not be bringing in a special guest for that one, and purely because it's a curiosity of mine to know, do people still feel some type of way about Black people being conservative? Yeah.
Are you going to be sitting in for that or restrained?
No, because look, everyone knows this. I like to play devil's advocate, and I am very free about speaking my mind, and I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm gonna just sit out of this one. I'll be watching though.
So here's one that you could talk about, which is to come later in this.
Okay, go on.
In this year, in the spring, which is the diaspora and the disconnect.
Oh yes, no, I'm definitely gonna be in on that one. You'll definitely see me for diaspora and disconnect, purely because there's definitely a disconnect within me and like the motherland, if you want to call it that.
I think as well. As Wunmi said earlier about it being bigger than just a UK Ipsos thing. And I think for our non-Black viewers as well, I think for a lot of you, this might resonate whether you're from Croatia and live here. I think there's something to be said about belonging and identity and being a third culture kid, really. And nowhere feels like home. Back home in Africa doesn't feel like home. Here doesn't feel home. I was born in Denmark. That doesn't feel like home. So where do we belong?
Oh yeah, I forgot you were Danish, by the way. Every single time this pops up, yeah, I always literally it's like a jolt to my head, like, yeah, Deqa's Danish.
Yeah, Scandinavian, grew up on a farm, all of that. Well, not on a farm, by a farm. By a farm, not on a farm.
I mean, ain't nothing wrong with growing up on a farm though. I mean, think about all the fresh milk, innit? Right, so this month's topic is, drumroll please. This month.
Black History Month.
Hey,
US.
Yes, US Black History Month. All right, so what is US Black History Month?
I think we should start with, and I'm gonna ask you, Reuben, why do we have two different Black History Months? Like, why is this one different?
Oh yeah, that's
okay,
right.
so I know maybe the first part of this answer. The second part, I don't know, but I was doing some Googles before the podcast, and I can tell you a bit about the history of Black History Month, particularly in the US. So the history of Black History Month in the US begins in Chicago with a man called Carter G. Woodson, who chose February for a few reasons. So first, it's tradition, and second, it's reform. So it's commonly said that Woodson selected February to encompass the birthdays of two great Americans that played a prominent role in the shaping of Black history. The first being Abraham Lincoln and what he did around the abolition of slavery, and the second being Frederick Douglass. So both their birthdays are next week. The week after next.
Abraham Lincoln is February 12th, and
I think it's Valentine's Day.
And Frederick Douglass is Valentine's Day.
Go. So that's why it's the month of February in the US.
Yeah.
The UK, the floor is open because I'm not too sure.
I think the UK one is, the reason why it's celebrated in October is because it has a lot to do with the Afro-Caribbean society here in the UK, and the reason why we celebrate it then is because it coincides with a lot of things that were being done in that period of time in the UK. So that's why it's celebrated then. I need to go and look it up properly. Oh God. I need to go and look it up properly. Yeah.
But the fact that there are two would definitely tell us that they're different.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. And I guess starting the next episode,
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I don't like the fact that it's months. There, I said it. Why is it a month?
Well, it should be longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, 12 months a year is my history. So
Period.
this is just when we bring other people in. Is
There's
how I see
someone
it.
that I want to quote, but we can't quote him anymore.
Why can't we quote?
But he had a good
damn
line.
it.
He had a good line.
That's another thing we're going to be talking about on the podcast: cancel culture.
Yeah, he's cancelled. So
Is it? Does his name start with K?
yeah.
Oh no, never mind. Never mind.
But
yeah.
that builds on Deqa's point and your point. That it doesn't need to be a month, but you need it to be a fixed period in time. Otherwise, it gets lost
structure.
in translation, and people don't necessarily remember things.
Because naively, I also like playing devil's advocate.
Thank you.
Obviously, idealistically, we like it to be 12 months, but then when it's 12 months, it's not going to be a theme or a month. It's just going to be immersed in
I think that's the whole
day-to-day
point,
life.
though.
But realistically, what was the compromise, if that makes sense? Because we could all say today, oh, let's dismiss any months. It's condescending. But then are we all collectively going to acknowledge, like group together, discuss? Because if you're not, then maybe having a month or 2 months or 3 months or a set period of time is worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because when I hear a statement like that, oh, it shouldn't be, obviously, like I agree, but in reality, what would that mean if Black History Month just went today in the US and UK? What would you think would be, not that this is a question, but that's where my mind went straight away.
I think long term, if I had my way, if I could wave the wand,
You are going to have your way. One day you're going to
go
take
ahead,
over the world. Continue.
Then it's a means to an end, right? It's because we don't talk about it enough now that we need the month. But I think the end goal, at least for me, is for Black history to be so integrated into actual history that we're taught in school, whether that's at university level or in primary school, that it's equitable
needed,
history,
yeah.
right? And once it's that, there's no need for Black History Month. Then it's just get rid of it.
It's just history.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just in
it's
curriculums
part of the
and-
furniture.
Just history, yeah. That's actually something we're going to touch on. I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but there's been a movement in the US lately for African American studies to be taught in high schools. And Florida recently just blocked it. Wait. Wonderful, innit? I don't know about you. I'd rather learn that than learn about the Saxons, but that's the thought for another time.
To be fair, yeah. Because I was,
Yeah, that's something for another time.
I haven't had much time for it lately, but I am actually a part of a group that's working to decolonize the education system in Wandsworth. So
Really?
we've been working on it for a few years. Yeah, it's going okay. It's a slow moving process, but it's going well. And I've been slightly out of touch with it because we have full-time jobs.
I wonder, but it must be down to school experience, right? Because I feel like I've celebrated Black History Month. I don't necessarily know whether it's October or February. Like every year since I can remember from school. Yeah, I can remember like learning about Harriet Tubman in school.
Yeah, but the thing is,
and
yeah,
that's
that's
US.
Exactly.
That's US, but it's something.
there was still...
Okay, but the thing is, yeah, why does it need to be something? Why can't I have
Every single year for a month.
Everything.
Why was we being taught that you
Yeah,
have a
I know,
dream?
and I
have
understand
a dream.
that,
Like,
yeah.
I ain't got a dream. Not anymore.
So we're talking
Not
about
anymore.
the point at which the Black history starts, that it needs to go back further and tell the whole story, not just from the point that there was slavery and then emerging from that.
I guess we can use that as a jump in to talk about what the actual name was of this week.
Black History Month wasn't a month. It was Negro History Week. Started in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, as Reuben said, to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. Now, here's the thing for me, yeah. That word Negro is very inflammatory. It's very, why was it called Negro History Week? Like, the connotations of that word is a bit,
because that was the word used at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, but why was it used at the time? Deqa knows this because she and I were talking about this earlier.
So it didn't always have negative connotations. And so for context, I'm a bit of etymology nerd. And
You're a nerd, period.
and so the word, I mean, I guess for most people, they would say, it comes from the Spanish or the Latin color black, or the word for just black, right? And that's what's been taken on. But it's older than that. If you look at ancient West Africa or ancient East Africa, there are words that are variations of the word that was being referred to mean reign, to mean emperor, to mean king, to mean chief, and all of these adjacencies that are adjacent with power, basically. And so we have to ask ourselves, when did it change? And again, as the nerd that I am, I looked it up. And as soon as the Greeks and the Romans and the likes started communications with Africa and didn't like, I guess, where the conversations were going, and this is early philosophy, the stuff that they don't like to put in our history books. They basically didn't realize that the word meant emperor, and they just assumed it meant black because everyone that they met was being, like, in the context of Ethiopia, was being referred to as Negus. And they just assume, Negus just means black person. So they went back calling it black, and then it became the color black. And then the color black became a derogatory term after, I guess, well, we've been through it. But the point is, in its origin, it's not negative.
Oh, so basically what you're saying is that the term Negro, when it first became a thing, where it first originated from, was from a place of pride, was from a place of prestige. And in US Black history, as is the case, it was twisted to mean something negative for Black people.
In terms of etymology, its root before Western conceptions of colour is to reign.
I like that, actually. That's actually quite nice. But I don't think people are going to be saying it like that. Like, no one's going to be saying it like that. Unless,
I don't think anyone's going to be saying it at all unless they're speaking Spanish.
Let's just,
It's just to get rid of it now at this point.
Yeah.
We have enough words.
Yeah, but
we don't need.
But the thing is, if you get rid of, like, Negro, then you have to get rid of words like coloured and stuff like that. And
we got rid of words.
No. You say that, but in South Africa, you would know this. In South Africa, it's still a thing.
Yeah, but
coloured people.
That's because
they call themselves coloured.
So they have a whole community of people
based around
that it's not the same. Sorry.
Yeah. It's and it's different, I guess.
They have a different history.
Yeah.
It's not
and you have to remember that mixed people in South Africa were a literal crime. They had to form their own community that was different from white communities and Black communities. Like, they were literally the undesirables.
And then the identity is built around that, because it's a lot longer history than the 20th century.
20th century, damn. It's early 20th.
No, it was 21st now, but I'm saying...
wait, hold on, 400, 500.
I'm talking about in terms of when, like, Windrush happened and people started moving to the UK.
Speaking of Windrush, I actually didn't know about Windrush until my 20s. No one... it literally, like, somebody mentioned Windrush to me and I was like, what's that?
How long ago?
Where did you go to school?
Why did you say it like that?
Admittedly, I don't think I...
Where did you go to school?
I was going to...
Where did you go to school?
In Hackney.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
But there you go. But that explains, as in you're aware
that explains it.
Yeah. Even you're cognizant of, okay, I went to school in Hackney. And like you said, even your point about, I celebrated Black History Month every year, as far as I can remember. My memory's fairly good, and my memory of Black History Month is vague. I can't even remember that much acknowledgement.
The only thing I learned from our Black History Month was Nigerian Independence Day, who the heck Mary Seacole was, and then we had, like, our normal, like, African American significant figures in history, like Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, etc., etc. But Windrush, I am not even ashamed to admit this, I didn't learn about Windrush until 3 years ago.
Huh?
Yes, I'm not telling you guys my age. I did not know about Windrush until 3 years ago, and when I found out, I'm not going to lie to you, I was like, this was actually a lot more interesting than learning about the Normans and 1066 and Richard the Conqueror, or whatever his name was.
William.
That's the one. William the Conqueror.
It's good that you paid attention in school. And then,
I've paid attention to some things.
so
Right.
this year's theme of Black History Month in the US is Black Resistance. So each year there's a different theme. What does this theme mean to you, James?
Resistance. Firstly, I'd be intrigued to know what just a selection of the other themes, because when I first became aware, okay, this year is resistance, my first thought was cliche,
Yeah.
as in that's what I'm gonna go to, like Black History Month, resistance, civil rights,
Yeah.
protesting. So I was thinking, oh, is it always a variation of resistance? That was my first thought. Or to be fair, I should have done the due diligence and checked like what the other themes have been. But yeah,
Last year in the UK it was Black Joy.
okay.
I don't know. To be fair, I don't know what the previous.
Well,
but it
for-
feels timely, given I don't know if
For the
you picked
US.
up in the news.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce the name. Is it Tyree?
Tyree?
Yeah. Who was beaten to death
recently.
Oh, that
by
one.
like
Yeah.
five to eight,
Five to eight
black police
police
officers.
officers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, last year, 2022, the theme for US Black History Month was Black Health and Wellness. 2021 was the Black family, like representation, identity. 2020 was African Americans in the vote. 2019 was Black migrations. And 2018 was African Americans in times of war.
Okay.
And no, I'm not just reading that off.
No,
Those were the past. But yeah, no, there's quite a lot, to be honest.
So yeah, so that was my skepticism. But from hearing Black resistance, yeah, my mind just quickly veers to, as I mentioned, the slave struggles, the civil rights movements, all of those kind of movements. And I've heard this from various people when talking about Black experience. I've heard various people say, we don't want to stay on the trauma discussions, not so much the resistance discussions, but people want to move away from that. And not that I share that view, and it's good to hear that the other themes have been of a wide aspect of areas. But yeah, when I do hear resistance, unfortunately, not that I'm jaded, but it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I've heard about the resistance struggles and I respect it, acknowledge it, but
Let's do something else.
yeah, and to be fair, there are lesser known figures than your Malcolm X's, your Martin Luther's, your Thurgood Marshalls. There are other figures. So yeah, I'm all for acknowledging those and learning more of the nuances and the people who maybe came before them. But yeah, basically when I hear it, I'm not as engaged as someone may expect. I think that's the best way to put it. It's more revering towards the...
I'm actually surprised that Black resistance as a theme hasn't actually popped up before now, especially when you consider like the period of time where police committed the police-based brutality against Black people was so prevalent. Like when we talk like 2020, 2021, where Black Lives Matter was at its peak. Like I'm surprised it didn't come up then.
But maybe we needed something else.
As in,
An escapism.
As in, yeah, because that would just be
Something else to
doubling
focus on,
down.
Yeah.
You see, that's my issue. That's my issue. Like, why do we need escapism?
Because reality can be harsh.
Yeah, reality is hard, but if you don't face reality now, you're into escapism. Like the problem's still gonna be there when you come back from that escapism. So why just work on it now?
Because I suppose there's different ways of healing. So I was watching
I don't think it's healing. I
was
feel
watching
like
a
it's
Vice-
pretending the issue's not there.
I was watching a Vice News documentary on this group of Black people that go to the woods in like Oakland.
What?
And they take mushrooms. They take mushrooms as to heal, and just it's about being out in nature, like with themselves. So I was like, this is some. It might be a bit too hippie and not crazy, but out there for me.
Yeah.
But I understand the thing of like they don't want to focus on resistance or struggle or any of the sort of negative things about Blackness and the Black experience. They just want to focus on enjoying, spending time together, and yeah.
Yeah, so like I was like quietly listening to all of you guys, and like you were squabbling, but you're actually all saying the same thing. Which for me, the way that I see resistance is, it is whatever it needs it to be. If I need rest, that's resistance. If I need to work harder in that moment, that's resistance. Like for me, resistance is my dad's voice is work 10 times harder than your age mates. And at some point that becomes burnout. And if you don't fix that burnout with, I don't know, some hippie trip with your friends in a park somewhere, maybe go on some retreat.
You didn't know that?
If that's what it is.
Oh, ayahuasca.
Will Smith went on a retreat. I think he wrote this in his book. He went on a retreat and he was given like psychic,
It's ayahuasca
mental,
something.
Psychedelics. And I was like, okay, that's
the guru that he went on this.
Oh, so you know about
whoever owns
this?
this retreat, right? This guru that all of these like celebrities have been following. I've been like quietly watching this, again, culture nerd, and I'm convinced it's the next big cult, guys. It's the next big cult. Like, it has people from Kerry Hilson to Will Smith.
Kerry Hilson?
Yes, like so many big personalities are like devout followers of this one guru. And it's...
I think we might need to explain who Kerry Hilson is.
Oh, Kerry
She
Hilson.
sang that song with that Neo and Kanye West. What is it?
She's a music artist.
Knock Me Down. That's it. Otherwise, no one else is gonna know.
Also, Pretty Girl Rock.
Yeah, but
Pretty
it's
Girl
good.
Rock
It's
was
like
good.
I know more. There's Slow Dance. That's my favorite song. But you know, not everyone's gonna know.
This got really out of
niche.
topic. But continue, Sha.
Yeah, no, it's my current culture watch. Just seeing how this cult unfolds. It's really fascinating. Like it's also like really interesting because it's leaning on like Eastern, I guess, spirituality, but it has so much other things from other parts of Asia, from Western political views too. And it's just, honestly, it's the most fascinating thing to watch, like just watching it unfold. I don't even want it to stop.
Can you watch it without being on social media? Because I'm having a...
No.
Yeah, on a social media detox.
My social media is LinkedIn and a neighborhood app.
It's really weird, like watching these people
I'm pretty sure
take
it's on
this
LinkedIn. I'll send it to
ayahuasca and then like them showing us the aftermath. I'm like, mate, I'm concerned for you. Like, are you okay? Is everything okay back home? Why is this suddenly becoming a thing? It's actually quite concerning because I first noticed it on TikTok and then Will Smith spoke about it and then I was like, yeah, no, this is actually a problem now.
Because we're in a space, just culturally, all of us, not just blackness, everybody, where we are seeking escapism more and more, and we're seeking novelty more and more, and we're just so overwhelmed with all of these things that we're just shown that we're burnt out mentally. Like, you're just taking in so much data, and you can only process so much. So
would you say there's been like a lot of black resistance in the media, Reuben?
In the media?
Yeah, in the media. I feel like there's been like a lot of there's been a lot of like black resistance imagery. Like if we take like the blaxploitation era of the 70s, where every like low to mid-level budget film were purely centered around black people and the black home. Then in the 90s, there was this period of time where Nickelodeon was called Blackalodian because it was just
Keaton and Cal.
Exactly. Yes, because
it wasn't called
But
Blackalodian.
like you guys called it Blackalodian.
Yeah, because there was like
That's crazy.
we had like
Keaton and Kel.
we had Keaton and Kel.
There was
Smart
such
guys.
an
I
empowerment.
can't remember.
Yeah.
Sister.
I don't know
Sister, Taina, Marisha, One-on-One,
Living
My Wife and
Single.
Kids,
That's like
Living
Trouble.
Single.
That's not Trouble.
Why is it?
Trouble,
I mean-
yeah. No, the channel
I mean
Trouble.
the channel Trouble.
Yeah.
Really?
There was a channel called Trouble.
Really?
But not all of those were on
Women's too young to
Nickelodeon.
remember that channel.
Not all of those were on Nickelodeon. So I saw Trouble as more.
Trouble was...
But Trouble
Trouble was
was
the one.
pretty much
Black-
it was like a few years later. Cause, I mean, we live in England. It's a few years
It's a
later
few from when it
of
came
what was
yeah.
really
In the US.
like stronghold 90s. Like there was such a like black empowerment.
Yeah, I think between the
time in the
70s,
90s.
I think between the 70s and the 2000s was when really black resistance and media really like blew up, because we had people literally occupying the space in which they'd landed themselves in. Naomi Campbell, love that woman. Tyra Banks, we're looking at people like Brandy, and we're looking at Michael Jordan dominating in basketball for 8 good years, and then we're looking at all the TV shows that came out, the music that came out,
And the family, like the family shows, like these shows were all centered around everything that's just normal nuclear family that is extended to everyone else.
Yeah.
We weren't, let's give the rags to riches and making it through the mud.
yeah,
story.
or you know that whole, you know, single funny token black friend in a show. It was purely about the black experience, and yeah, sometimes it was cliched,
But that's
sometimes
the thing, it was
corny.
multi-dimensional. So
Yeah.
I didn't mind the cliche because there was so many different things that then you do want the goofy, you do want the outrageous, the satirical, because it's part of many. But when it's just satirical,
That was the
Am I a joke?
That was the beauty of BET. I think BET just gave us like a little bit of everything.
106 in Park.
Oh my god!
I don't know about
What?
Say,
What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know about
American-centric.
BET?
It did even though so was Trouble in Nickelodeon, but BET was.
Lol.
Go on, tell us what's on your mind, Reuben.
I feel like BET kind of, but like, it's good to have a black-owned station promoting like black TV content, but I feel like it kind of birthed this whole like housewives hip hop
Oh yeah. Did they start?
thing,
with that
which
show?
like I think it's fine, but the way that it continues to spiral out of control is just like insane. But then I think at the same time you just have to take it for what it is, in that it's like funny, scripted, meant to be outlandish reality TV.
And like, I think maybe it's a bit because I see what you mean, but they didn't start it. I mean, all of this started with was it Jessica Simpson?
Yeah.
Or like,
Or The Hills.
yeah,
Paris Hilton, all that lot.
Paris Hilton was probably like the first, I would
and
say, like
Nicole
reality star, and so it was always the trend that everyone was going to get involved in.
So quickly, because I'm conscious of time, what would you say are the images or the people that represent like black resistance now? I know who I would say for the UK.
Who?
Stormzy.
Shake my hand. I take that. Yeah, I'm good. I'd say Stormzy. Another person I'm looking at is Michaela Cole.
Yes.
I love that girl so much. I've been following her since. I know we're talking about US Black History Month,
She's been quiet lately. I'm wondering what she's
But she's
working on.
amazing. She started as a spoken word artist and then quickly jumped over into comedy TV, and then she moved into becoming this amazing writer and producer. That I was just like, oh God. I mean, I know she's British, but still.
I don't even like, the funny thing about Stormzy, I'm not like too much into the music. It's the other stuff. It's the unapologetic
Britishness.
The what's his scholarship?
Yes, the publishing,
Yeah.
the publishing company,
The way he like conducts and carries himself now.
the partnership with
in House
Adidas.
Grove. Yeah.
Like that's amazing. What about you?
No one like popped into my head, but after brief thought, probably I'm quite big into sports, so Lewis Hamilton. And not that I'm his biggest fan.
I was gonna say because I don't like him either.
Not that I like all this. I follow F1 somewhat, but more
I've got
so.
prejudice against his accent because
What?
it's weird.
But more so recently, I've got a feeling that he's spoken about his upbringing and his experience in F1, which is like a very it comes across as a very elitist kind of sport, and just basically putting myself in his shoes and thinking, okay, this guy's 8-time or 9-time world champion. He's just surrounded by people very different to him. From my understanding, he came from like Stevenage, very humble upbringing.
Dad
And
worked
He's
like
the
3
only
jobs.
famous
Yeah.
person from Stevenage. Only famous person from Stevenage that I know. Weirdly enough.
We've had quite a few footballers, but yeah, they're not that.
Whatever.
They're not as famous. But yeah, basically with him, yeah, I just like that he's talking about his experiences, and I like his stubbornness, even though seemingly it rubs people up the wrong way. I like the way he carries himself, and just what he's done is it's unprecedented.
So who are some of the significant African Americans that should be remembered in history though?
For me, I think that answer also answers the question that you guys all just answered too. And for me, that's Kimberly Crenshaw. And so she coined the term intersectionality, like I think in the 80s. And in Black academic circles, we've been using that word for a decade, if not long. Well, a decade for me, but probably longer for others who've been in it for longer. And the way that it's made its way into public consciousness today, even though that's something that she said decades ago and coined decades ago, it's the fact that it's being accepted as something valid today, to me, is something super important. And intersectionality, for those who don't know, is understanding how different parts of us intersect, whether that's our faith, whether that's our race, whether that's our gender, whatever it may be. Like, the intersections of them look different. Like, we're all black. You're a black man, you're going to have a different experience to me. You're going to have different barriers to me. You are a mixed light-skinned man. You're going to have different, different trials and tribulations and hurdles and barriers than you would, or that she would. And for me, that's something that Kimberly Crenshaw laid out so eloquently. Everybody watch her TED Talk.
Not her TED
and
Talk.
yeah, I think honestly, she's an amazing academic, and honestly, I would say is changing the world, like years after she's stopped publicly talking about it, as far as I know. Sorry if you still are.
I think there's one person I do want to bring up because I actually didn't know about her until I did a little bit of history. So her name is Henrietta Lacks. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in 1951. So, get this, and this is proper gist, you know. A sample of her cancer cells were taken without her consent by a researcher.
What's so special about her cells, though? Can you tell us?
So her cells are mad unique because they had the unique ability to double every 20 to 24 hours. So basically what they were looking at was a never-ending cancer cell sample to basically do as much research on as possible. I just want to point out, as someone working for a research company, you do not do those type of things without the person's express and written
GDPR
consent. Okay? Or else the best team are going to be after you. So yeah, she died at the age of 31 that same year, but her cells would literally go on to advance so much medical research for years to come. Like, they were used to test the effects of radiation, of poisons. They were used to study the human genome, to learn more about how viruses work, and they played a really crucial role in the development of the polio vaccine. I just want to reiterate one more time, please don't be going down and be taking people's things without permission. Written, express, consent, signed. Hey. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us. If you have any questions, comments, if you just want to inspire conversation, we're a very open group. Please reach out to us at UK-reach-the Black Collective at ipsos.com, and hopefully your question might be in our next podcast.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for listening into our first month of releases. In our next month, we will be talking about blackness in the political sense, and what does it mean to be politically black versus black, and is there a difference? It'll be very juicy. Do tune in.
And that's a wrap. Happy Black History Month.